So now it means that we have had the two presentations after the area presentations. And so from the presentations from the Director of Basic Education and from AIMU, we can have a discussion or other question and answer first. And then from there, we can have a total discussion on all the presentations and then reach some conclusions and then we conclude. So I have at least 30 minutes for this exercise. So those who have questions, comments on the presentation by the Minister of Education, please do so now by raise of hands. Yes, Anok, please proceed.
Thank you very much, convener, and the two presenters. My question goes to, I think, specifically to the Director of Basic Education, Madam Grace Meuna. You did raise very good points, which I really love, and one of which that you, as a minister, you intend to begin allocating funding at all levels to the for disaster preparedness and maybe mitigation. And my question is then, especially for the basic education part, the primary schools, how is this going to work? Because as I am meant to believe as of now, most of the primary schools are now under the local government. So here is the Minister of Education intending to provide funding at all levels. That's at the national, local, and also the regional level. How would this work when the schools currently are under the local government? I think I would wish to understand maybe how this would work in the scenario. Thank you, Chair.
Please. You can respond to the question. Are you on mute, Grace? You can respond to the question.
Maybe one
answering. Proceed.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I did. Somebody was talking to me. I got distracted. I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
Well, Madam Grace,
again the question.
The question was regarding the plans for the ministry to allocate a funding, a budget line for funding for disaster management to the schools, the national level, or maybe in short, at all levels. Now, my question was, currently, as I'm meant to believe, the basic education mostly is under the local government. So here is the Minister of Education allocating funding for schools which are under local government. And then I just want to know how this would work. Won't there be any conflict between the two ministries? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Yeah, the resources that went to local government came from us. We developed them. So we always liaise with local government whenever there are issues that we want to be added to the resources. So we will liaise with the National Local Government Finance Committee. That it's them and the Minister of Finance. It's Minister of Local Government and Minister of Finance. But we can give direction because we are the policy board. So we can give direction on issues that we think as the ministry we want. We are the experts in education. I don't know whether that satisfies your the response. That's why even the project that I was talking about, we are targeting primary schools, because we can't just say we devolved schools to local government, therefore we leave everything to local government. No, the sector is still responsible. Thank you, Chair.
Madam, for the response. I can't see any hand up. Do I see any hand up? Any hand up, comment, question?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, Innocent, yes, please proceed.
To, I think, Grace, the first presenter. You mentioned that there's a recommended low-cost design for school.
Yeah, proceed with the question.
Okay, I was saying that Grace mentioned about low-cost school structures, low-cost design of school structures. I would like to know what makes these structures low-cost. And the other thing was to do with the maintenance of the damaged schools whenever there is a natural disaster, whereby she mentioned that some construction materials are provided or are supplied to the communities for maintenance. So in terms of achieving build back better, I don't know how supervisory work is done so that the maintenance work achieves build back better after disaster. The last question is to do with safer school construction guidelines. I think that was developed in 2015. When will this be updated? Because there's been a number of issues that have arisen since this particular guideline was made public. So I don't know when is this going to be updated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Innocent. Let me request Anna, because Anna, EIMU is an infrastructure management unit for the ministry. Let me request her to respond, then maybe I can add if there's need. Thank you. Anna, please, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still there.
Yes.
I'm still around, sir.
Yes, please respond to the question why we are calling these low cost. What makes them low cost? The design, maintenance, and also the safer school construction guideline.
Let me start with the last question, which is about the Malawi Safer Schools Construction Guidelines. Indeed, it's a volume 1, and it was developed in 2019. It's when the final copy came out 2019 and not 2015, as our colleague had asked. Actually, there are issues that were highlighted from at the time it was being developed that needs needs to be reviewed and incorporated into the document. But at the level where we are, the Malawi Safer School Construction Guideline, the volume 1 came out, but we had at this point in time we haven't done the dissemination into the communities and the local councils. So we would want to first of all disseminate to specifically to the communities. The local councils were given the copies, whatever, but we would want maybe to have sensitization meetings whatsoever, and we have planned to do this because of resources. It has taken time to do this element. So under the upcoming project, under the MAP, that aspect has been considered. So after we have done the dissemination of the volume 1, it's when we are going to come back and look at the aspects or the issues that were already highlighted as the next steps for us to do in developing the MSSG. And on the low cost classrooms, actually, in other words, we are calling it cost effective, because when we call it low cost, people are thinking it is substandard. But what is making it cost effective? We are not using the procurement process, which is open tendering, whereby it's open to categories of contractors, maybe with a bigger legislation with NCRC. We are using local contractors within the districts that are closer to the sites where these schools will be constructed. So by doing that, automatically it reduces some overhead costs and administration costs. And then the design was reviewed. Actually, we are using cement blocks, which are also have a greater element of cost in it. And what is bringing down the cost is the community contribution. We have envisaged that in the communities where they will be able to contribute the sand, they should, and also in terms of the cost of labor, it will be reduced a bit, just because people come from the same communities closer than what contractors do when they are successful in bids. They sometimes import the labor from elsewhere. So looking at those elements, that is why it is being called cost effective. There are some elements that will bring down the cost. And so, and for build back better supervisor aspect, I mentioned in my presentation that over all the past years, we have never been involved as the education infrastructure in community participation in construction. So the design that they were using was not defined by ourselves, so that the architects, engineer can look at them before construction starts. And there was no supervisor element in there. Yeah, the communities were just doing whatever they could do, as long as the structure stands, without looking at what ourselves in buildings construction we look for. So what we have done is we have developed a construction manual, which will guide the local councils from all the districts, and then there will be some trainings that will be involved to translate those issues that are more technical to the local contractors. At the same time, we have also developed supervision and monitoring plans. These are they are describing the roles and responsibilities of all the stakeholders who will be involved in the construction of the low cost effective classrooms. And we are also engaging a third-party consultant to also help to work with the communities, so that we are with them, we don't leave them alone in doing this construction works. There will also be clerk of works alongside everything, so that they are on site, helping the local contractor to, especially in most critical elements like the footing, the slab, the roofing. Those are difficult parts in terms of constructing a building. So this we envisage this will help us build it back better in terms of school infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grace, are you adding something? Grace, are you adding something?
For the yeah, I think for the low cost, just to add that the communities are the ones we said low cost because they'll be done by communities. We'll just give them grants. So they using the grants, the communities will buy materials and other things. They will identify an artisan in the community who is going to do the construction. But of course, there will be supervision from the district. Is the Department for Works. We also have we'll procure a film which is also going to have some type of works to supervise just to ensure quality. Yeah. I don't know whether in terms of the issue of maintenance. Just to go back to the issue of devolution, that although we devolved the schools to councils, but when we have challenges with disasters, the councils don't do anything. So it takes the ministry at central level to do maintenance of those schools in those communities, which is not ideal, but what else can the ministry do? We just have to do it. So when we have resources through Anna's department, these are the people who mobilize resources and enable us, districts to give us quotations. That's why we procure center. This is the challenge that we are facing. Anyway, we are still discussing. There are still discussions between the two ministries, but currently that's the challenge that we are having. That at central level we have to do to rehabilitate schools at that level instead of local government to do it. I just wanted to add that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. Patrick, have you hand up, Patrick?
Yes. On the Malawi Safer School Construction Guidelines, I would like to comment that one that is a step in the right direction. And also the involvement of the communities is also a good idea. But I just wanted to find out if these guidelines are based on the Malawian scenario, like are they based on Malawian building code or some borrowed building codes? Thank you.
I think that one goes to Anna.
Thank you, Chair and Madam Director, Basic Education in the Ministry. Actually, the Malawi Safer Schools Construction Guidelines are based on the Malawi standard codes, because they were done in the country and they were done by stakeholders, and we were assisting the consultant who came in to just assist us, but it was done by a task force team which involved all Malawians, and we were guiding the consultant, and the assessment when the consultants were doing the assessments, we were doing together, and all documents that they used and all guidance in terms of regulations and whatever they were given to the consultants by the task force team, which involved the different stakeholders, including the academia, Malawi Institute of Engineers, even Dodima was there, Malawi Institute of Architects, and the other stakeholders. We worked together so that we ensure that what was put in the guidelines reflects whatever the country, is looking for in terms of construction of safer schools for our learners. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the response given. And I think it's important to also for me to comment that indeed all the designs regarding the construction of buildings and the safer schools, I think were based on the fact that indeed we have had challenges with this phenomenon coming in, earthquakes, floods, and of course the issues of ground movement, and all those have been taken into account. So I think it would say it's a hybrid, local standards and the foreign. So looking at the actual situation, as you asked Patrick, that okay, is this also was it Patrick? I think it was Patrick, yeah. That indeed, was it based on the local conditions? Yes, because it was based on the fact that these earthquakes, floods are occurring here. And then what would be the best practice? So it's based on the best practice at the time. And as Innocent asked, in terms of review, I think it has been ably responded by Anna that indeed for the documents themselves, they have not been widely circulated. And so there is room first for them to be disseminated, and then later on, there can be improvement in terms of where the stakeholders see challenges in terms of what they experience its use. I don't see any hand up. Do you have any hand up there? I can't see any hand up there. Oh, there's a hand up from Anok.
Thank you once again, Dr. Ngoma. Mine is, I don't know, maybe it's worth thinking, but I'm just thinking of this. After this end of this current partnership with our colleagues from Bristol, as different institutions, do we have any plans to continue the collaboration? Because I see quite a beautiful way from UNIMA, quite a beautiful way from Mobas, and all the other partners and stakeholders. But after this, do we have maybe plans for a national platform where we can continue engaging, discussing, and maybe doing together research in this area? Because I think usually after we have something like this, it ends. Our partnership also ends there, and everyone goes on to do their own thing in their own way. There's no more talking amongst ourselves. For this work, what are our plans? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Anok, for this question or comment, which is looking at the session now, looking at discussion conclusions. And so I welcome views from partners. So local partners, we have UNIMA, Mobasi, Geological Service Department. MAST was supposed to be here, but I've not probably seen any participant from MAST. I don't know whether there is anyone from MAST on the platform, but I was assured that there will be at least 6-7 participants from MAST. So, but I can't see them. But you are right that indeed, sometimes when such projects come to an end, the continuity becomes an issue. But I see that there is a lot of interest. Madam Grace from Ministry did raise the issues of, okay, what are the plans for us as local researchers, engineers, architects, to look at how we can help the country, particularly education infrastructure, siting, maybe even construction materials. But I believe that we will continue collaborating. because at the end of this project, I think we, the logos, have to look at the end reports. What have we concluded? Because I think all the presentations said that, okay, at the end of the day, we are looking at this one in terms of research areas. So I think at the end of the day, we are going to review all those potential areas for research, but also, as we saw, I think there was a question from Bright Matapa, who is okay, I would say is a graduating student. What's the question, okay, in terms of information, where do we find information? So all those, there is potential for us to come together so that we can be able to see how we move forward. But I expect any comment from the other stakeholders, if any, based on the Anok's question. Hassan, Zuze, Innocent, do we see anything there? Anna, and of course, Grace. Any comment from Anna?
Okay.
Is that Anna you're speaking, or take the floor, Anna? Oh, is that,
No,
oh, Hassan, Hassan.
Hassan, yeah. Of course, as I've said already in line with what Dr. Chiwona has asked or suggested, it's a good idea that we have, because Dr. Chiwona is trying to propose a national platform where all these relevant issues could be tabled, and from there, we need to move from the discussion table to the actual implementation side of it. So indeed, it's a good idea and a good suggestion. And as you have put it, Ignacio, we need to come together as both government, department, academic institutions, even the NGOs, so that from there we can take it and see how are we going to implement these things practically on the ground and in the field, not just on paper, but we have to take these things and we see results. I think that's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see that there are many participants. We have others who have been listening from the local stakeholders, and I would expect that if they see any issue that they feel we should do, it's important that also they can also give their perspective. Dr. Jamvula here, you have picked one or two things. You may also comment on how you see this moving forward. So I think it's open for discussion now. This is session where we are looking at the discussion and the conclusions. So anyone who has a view, oh, witness, yes, witness.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to agree with the others who have just spoken earlier on the issue of what next. And apart from that, I just want to concur with Anok. He talked about aligning the findings to the MW 2063, which is very important, because whatever we have to do as of now as a country, indeed, our implementation should be to the extent of realizing that the aspirations of MW 2063 are achieved. So indeed, we need, apart from the stakeholders who are here, we need to involve the National Planning Commission so that we should be moving together as we go together to the MW 2063. From the presentations here, I can see that most of the presentations and the recommendations, they align to some categories of the MW 2063 in terms of the pillars and the enablers of the Malawi 2063. So it's important that we involve the NPC as we go further in terms of implementation. However, I do agree with the speakers that indeed it should not end on paper, but we should sit down, maybe as local stakeholders, see how we can implement the recommendations while aligning to the Malawi 2063. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Witness, for those pertinent contributions. I'm not sure that there's anyone. We are running short of time now. We are almost closing. I don't see any hand there. I don't see any hand. So I think we had scheduled to finish at 12:30, and we are almost there now. What it means for me to thank you all for your presence to begin with. A webinar without people is as good as nothing. The first core point is the one we have done, meeting and discussing and looking at where we can go. So as I said, I'd like to thank all those who have taken part, and starting with the DVC, who make a presentation for UNIMA. And then we had the eulogy for John, who we think has done a lot for the world through his education and his work at University of Bristol, and then working with us in Africa, so that his contribution to the world of knowledge can go as far as it has done. So we are thankful for all those who spoke on that behalf and those who contributed to that particular presentation. So yeah, that was very, very good. And then of course we had the Mubas presenting, Innocent and Ignacio. And then we had the Geological Survey Department. Before that we had the UNIMA also make a presentation.